Lighten up, take me on your magic river. Tell me all your dreams align. Sign me up and tell me about the people that you know who are trying to feel alive.
In the previous episode, I found my father's old letters, the ones that were never sent. Those trembling lines of handwriting, strong yet fragile, made me look at him in a way I never had before. For the first time in my life, I realized behind that cold, silent exterior was a man who simply didn't know how to express his love. When I folded the last letter, a strange feeling rose quietly inside me, something tender and painfully sad. I suddenly understood that I was not the only one carrying unspoken words. My father carried them too. And then, in the stillness that filled this house, I found myself thinking about my mother, the woman who never wrote a letter, never left a message, yet spent her entire youth quietly holding this family together, quietly enduring, quietly loving. I walked toward the old kitchen, the place where she had stood for so many years. With every step, my heart grew heavier, because I knew that was where the memories I feared the most had been waiting for me, and that is where my journey continues.
I stopped at the threshold of the kitchen. The light coming through the small window stretched across the tiled floor, forming a long, quiet strip of brightness, just like the memories that had been lying there all this time, waiting for me to come back and touch them. The kitchen was still the same, silent, worn by years, yet filled with traces of the days when my mother was still here. The small wooden table stood in the middle of the room, the old bowls stacked on top of one another, and in the corner, the clay stove where she had tended the fire for half her life. I saw her faded apron hanging on the wall. It rested there, simple and quiet, as if a part of her still remained inside this house. And when I closed my eyes for a brief moment, I could almost see her standing by the stove, her small figure leaning gently against the wall, her hands always moving between smoke and flame. Then the sounds of the past returned to me, the soft clatter of pots and pans, the faint echo of a ladle touching the side of a pot, my mother's voice calling me to dinner, never loud, yet somehow always strong enough to echo inside my heart. I walked slowly inside. My hand touched the surface of the wooden table, cold, rough, and painfully familiar. When I was a child, I used to sit right here, resting my chin on my hands while watching my mother cook, sometimes pretending to help, just to feel like I was a little more grown-up than I really was. Back then, I thought all of this was simply normal. A warm meal, always waiting. A woman who was always there, never complaining, never asking for anything. But now, standing in this kitchen, filled only with silence, I finally understand the things that seem most ordinary are often the things most precious in our lives. I whispered softly inside my heart, as if I were speaking to her, even though she is no longer here. Mom, I'm home.
Life can get hard, so honey, if you need to cry, just come share my pillow and rain, rain, go away.
When the wooden door slowly opened, A familiar scent drifted into my memories, the smell of simple meals, the smell of those evenings when my mother stood by the stove while I sat at the old wooden table, waiting without ever realizing that one day those moments would disappear. I stood still at the doorway, not stepping inside, only watching from afar. The faint yellow light fell across the floor, speckled with traces of time. The kitchen was still the same. The old firewood stove, a few dented pots, the faded curtain by the window. Everything felt as if it had been frozen in a distant day of the past. And there was my mother. Her hair had turned gray without my noticing, tied neatly behind her neck. Her figure was thin, fragile, yet her hands remained patient, gently stirring the ladle in the pot of soup that was quietly boiling. The rising steam blurred the air like a thin mist spreading over my memories. I looked at my mother, and my heart suddenly ached. Back then, I was always in a hurry to escape this house. I believed I was meant for somewhere else, another road, a life without the smell of smoke from the kitchen, without the sound of the wind slipping through the cold wooden gaps. I never realized that the place I wanted to leave the most was the only place where someone was silently waiting for me to return. My mother didn't know. I was standing there. She kept cooking, kept moving quietly, just as she had through all the passing years. Perhaps all her life she had grown used to waiting for a meal with everyone at the table, waiting for the sound of footsteps coming home, waiting for a simple greeting that I never managed to say during those reckless years of youth. I wanted to call out Mom, but my throat tightened. Only the sound of the spoon gently touching the side of the pot echoed softly through the empty kitchen. And in that moment, I finally understood there are kinds of loneliness in this world that do not come from being abandoned, but from loving far too deeply. I still remember it clearly. It was an autumn afternoon. The wind passed through the trees behind the house, carrying the smell of damp earth and the faint scent of smoke from the kitchen. The sky had turned gray, as if it were waiting for the rain to come. That day, I came home with a heavy heart. My grades weren't what I had hoped for, and the teasing from my classmates about the poor little town I lived in kept echoing in my head, like small stones piling up inside me, until they finally became an unreasonable anger. I walked into the house and threw my bag onto the old wooden chair. My mother was standing by the stove, gently stirring a pot of vegetable soup. Its warm, simple aroma filled the room. She turned around and gave me a gentle smile. "You're home. Sit down. I'll be done in just a minute." But I didn't answer. All I could see was how small the kitchen felt, how tiny the house was, and how ordinary this life seemed compared to the dreams I was carrying inside. I started to snap, saying harsh, impatient words. I said I was tired of this place, tired of these modest meals, tired of the days that kept repeating themselves without change. My mother stayed quiet, still stirring the soup. But for a brief moment, her hands stopped, just for a second, subtle enough that only now, looking back, I finally understand. I went on, my voice rising higher and higher. "I want to leave. I don't belong in this town. I don't want to live like this for the rest of my life." In that moment, I saw my mother's eyes. No anger, no reproach, only a deep sadness, the kind carried by someone who has slowly grown used to losing things, one by one. She didn't respond right away. She set the ladle down on the table, wiped her hands with a cloth, and came to sit across from me. Her hands were thin, but warm hands that had guided me through so many cold winters. Yet, back then, all I saw was the worn-out hands of a poor woman. She looked at me, her voice soft and slow. "I know, this place is small, and I know you've always wanted a bigger life." She paused for a moment, taking a deep breath. "If you have to go, then go. Youth is meant to walk out into the world, not to be kept inside this old house." I was stunned. I thought she would stop me, cry, beg me to stay. But she didn't. My mother was the first person to open the door for me, and she was also the only one who smiled, even knowing that from that day on, there would be one less seat at the dinner table. She placed a bowl of hot soup in front of me, the steam rising softly, blurring my eyes. Then she said, "Just remember one thing. No matter how far you go, if one day you grow tired, just come home. I will still be here." I couldn't understand the weight of those words back then. All I felt was that I was right, and that the world outside was waiting for me. I stood up and walked away, and as I stepped through the doorway, I heard the faint clink of bowls touching on the table, a sound so small, yet painfully loud in my memory now. I didn't look back. I didn't see my mother standing silently by the doorframe, her hand clutching the edge of her shirt, trying to hold back a sob that never quite escaped. And I carried the pride of youth with me, while leaving behind a small, fragile woman who had given her entire life only to love me. And today, as I stand in this old kitchen once again, the scent of that soup seems to return, and my mother's words drift through my heart, quiet, tender, and more painful than any wound I have ever known. Asterisk, asterisk.
Lighten up, take me on your magic river. Tell me all your dreams align. Sign me up and tell me about the people that you know who are trying to feel alive.
I took a few more steps into the old kitchen, and that was when I saw it on the wall. A photograph so faded that its colors had almost disappeared. It was taken on a day long ago when I was still a little boy standing beside my mother, smiling so innocently that I can hardly recognize myself in it now. The wooden frame was cracked at one corner. Perhaps it had been hanging in that very spot. For many years, I reached out and gently touched the cloudy glass, and suddenly realized the dust on it wasn't as thick as I had imagined. Someone had still been cleaning it from time to time, still preserving it, as if keeping a fragment of a memory I once thought had vanished. I knew it was my mother. She never mentioned me in front of others, never complained that her son had left, never told the neighbors how lonely she was. She simply kept on living, quietly holding on to everything that belonged to me. An old wooden chair, a coat hanging behind the door, this childhood photograph. As if the moment I returned, everything would still be here, still leaving a space for me to step back into. That was how my mother loved, without noise, without demands, without reproach, only acceptance. Acceptance of the pain I once caused her. Acceptance of the way I walked away without looking back. acceptance of the long, empty years that filled this house. My mother was forgiving, in the way of someone who had grown familiar with loss, yet still patiently guarded a tiny hope that someday someone might come home. I stood before the photograph, and in that moment, I finally understood. You cannot see compassion with your eyes. You can only feel it through the smallest of things: an empty seat by the table, an old pair of slippers no one uses, a faded photograph that has never been put away. I bowed my head, and for the first time in many years, I whispered softly in my heart, "Mom, I'm home." There are mothers who spend their whole lives loving us without ever saying much about that love. They don't blame us. They don't ask us to stay. They simply stand quietly behind the door as we walk away, silently hoping that one day we will return safely. And when we are finally mature enough to understand that love has already turned into memory, resting in old kitchens, unfinished meals, and words that were never fully spoken. My journey still carries one truth: I have not yet dared to face a shadow from the past, someone who waited for me through the passing years. I invite you to join me in episode 4, The Woman from Years Ago. It will be the moment when I must finally confront a love that I once left behind.